Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. We are back looking at a teaser trailer for the next major update for War Thunder. And it turns out Gaijin has released it under the name Tusk Force, which is an interesting name. I actually don't mind it. It does seem a bit weird, but I'm sure it's some kind of, well, I suppose it's probably some kind of little thing which is to do with the Oplot or something like that. Who knows? We'll probably find out in the future. In this trailer, they actually brought in a bunch of different stuff, some vehicles, and also a look at the new maps. I personally don't really enjoy the lighting in this trailer. I think that's probably one of the biggest negatives. Gaijin has a really cool, like, kind of lighting system, and it just kind of sucks that in this one they didn't really use it that much. But what we'll do in this video, we'll analyze the trailer, we'll have a look at what's in it, we'll also talk about the different vehicles that are coming in and all of those different things and all of that. One thing to note, I did already record this. Unfortunately, the recording kind of went crazy, so I apologize for that. But yeah, it desynced all over the place. I'm trying some new recording settings, trying to get stuff to work, but doesn't always work. So let's get going. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get started. And after this, or after this day, there'll be a bunch of dev stream stuff tomorrow probably, and then obviously the dev server. We'll cover everything for you as we kind of wander around and do everything as always. So the first part of the update trailer focuses not just on a SAM system that we'll talk about later, but also some updates to the maps. Now, this was already talked about. This was a update in not just Poland, but also Eastern Europe. Two maps which are used basically across the board by a lot of different setups. So it's kind of nice to see how they're both here, and hopefully we'll continue to get more and more updated maps. Unfortunately, the trailer I don't think does them justice, because once again, the lighting that they use in this area is just not very good. I think it actually looks a lot better in this area. This one, I believe, is like Poland, but the other one is Eastern Europe. So let's have more light, less clouds, you know how it goes. But we'll have a look around both of these maps on the dev server. Usually with these kind of like updated maps, though, there isn't really a huge difference between how they actually play in War Thunder itself right now, and then also what's on the kind of dev server and then in the next major updates. It's usually just a visual upgrade with a few differences here and there. So I'm hoping with Poland there's like some differences that north side, and then Eastern Europe maybe a little bit more flatter, which it kind of looks like over here, but not really. Like it still seems like quite, you know, wavy on that area, but we'll have to see as it goes forward. So then we get like a really weird area. We get the Japan map. I don't think it's called Japan, though. It's the beach map, which isn't Japan, but it's like the Pacific arena. And basically, we get a bunch of vehicles we've already seen because they're already in the game. So you have the HSTVL that you can see here. You have the ZTZ-99. There's a Leopard 2, a 6 or 7 over here. There is a Challenger 2. Then there's this boy, which may be familiar to people. You can see it once again up here. Maybe familiar to people if you know War Thunder lore, I suppose, or were around in the game for, well, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or something like that. So let's have a look at these vehicles. The Leopard 2's got blown up. The ZTZ is fighting. The HSTVL is firing. The good old Challenger 2 is chucking out as well. And then you have this. This is the CV90-105 TML. Now, this used to be in the game. It then was removed and replaced with the CV90-105 XC8. The reason why this vehicle was removed is because it was ahistorical. It had a bunch of factors to it which it shouldn't have had, and this basically meant that it was way higher than it should have been in BR, and also at the same time, there was a bunch of bug reports about it. People were not happy about it because Gaijin has the standard for historical accuracy, and this vehicle was not following it. So they had a choice. They could either remove all of its bits and pieces and drop it in BR and do it kind of like that, or they could replace it with what they thought was a like-for-like replacement, which is the CV90-105 XC8, which you now see in the premium section of the Swedish tech tree. So if you bought the TML back in the day, aka this vehicle you see in front of you, Then you now have the XC8, but you don't have the TML. Looks like the TML is going to come back, but as a standard Tech vehicle without its bells and whistles. And I think the reason why they decided to swap it with the XC8 is the same reason why you have issues with certain other vehicles. You may remember the premium M60 for Italy. That used to have access to a stabilizer, and then they removed it. This annoyed a lot of people for obvious reasons. If you buy a product and then that product gets changed in a different way, then it's going to annoy people and also open you up legally to a bunch of different stuff too. So with the change that they did to the TML, I think it was kind of cool. But the fact that it's here in this lineup is pretty nuts. It basically shows that they are bringing it back. And then you have them fighting, right? There's a big smoke screen. They're running away. They're all getting blown up by something, which is coming from the other side. And what is it? Of course, it's your boy. Not just the Stingray, which we already knew which was coming to the Thai tech tree and the Japanese one, and then also the American tech tree. We have the Oplot. Now, this is the Thai Oplot, so it's an export version of it. The Oplot was designed for export, but this one is specifically the Thai version, which is why it's coming to the Thai ground tech tree for Japan. If you don't know what the Oplot is, it's a Ukrainian vehicle. It's based off of the T-80UD, and it's massively upgraded, basically, but it has a different turret, like a different armor composition. It obviously has a different optic set, and also it should have a different kind of transmission and therefore mobility. The interesting thing about the T-80UD is it's also technically a Ukrainian vehicle, but it was built during the time of the USSR, which is why it's in the USSR tech tree. The other part of it is the difference between the standard T-80U and the UD is the UD has the diesel engine and also the worse transmission compared to the U, because it was seen as more efficient in terms of not having to be repaired all the time, and also because they had a ton of diesel to make it run, so it was a little bit easier. So in terms of the Oplot that we see here, it's one of those which is kind of similar, but it is massively upgraded. So it should be more mobile, it should technically have better rounds, and then also at the same time, it should have more stuff to it too. So I think that's pretty awesome. Then, of course, you have access to the Commander's cupola, or Commander's optics, which is back here. So that also should be really nice to see too, along with all of its other systems that kind of appear. So I would say it's pretty awesome. That's going to be great in the Thai tech tree, and also should have a lot of cool factors to it, giving a nice little kind of Ukrainian look at the Thai tech tree, along with an American look with the Stingray and also the M60 and the M163 that we knew was coming later on. So cool. Like the Oplot is awesome. We also have access to an Apache, which is turning up. Now, I don't know whether this is like a different Apache from the one that we have. According to the leak lists, the Apache that is coming in is the AH-64E, and there's also the AGM-179, which is kind of going to be a pretty fun little kind of missile that's coming in for the Americans, bringing them on par with a lot of other helicopters that are around. You also have rockets on this, so nothing too crazy. It doesn't have like the longbow radar on the top of it, but it does have access to stingers to try and keep it alive, and of course the chain gun on the bottom. So this guy's coming in to be able to try and save the poor CV-90 from getting annihilated by these Thai vehicles. Set up with rockets, getting ready with the hood to fire them off, and good night. The AH-64 dies to another new vehicle that's coming into the game, which is an F5. We have a million F5s in the game. We have the F5C, the F5A, the F5E, the F5E FCU. We also have the F5T. This one is another Thai F5. It is the F5TH, which is a modernization of the F5. Now, the cool thing about the Thai F5s is there's a bunch of different variants of them. You have mostly just upgraded to today's standards, mainly adding either new radars, new electronics, new RWRs, new, kind of like HMDs or HMSs, and also different weapons. This one, the F5TH, is upgraded by the Israelis, and it has access to Israeli weaponry. What you can see here, I believe, and I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is the Derby missile. the active radar homing one, which you can find. It also has the countermeasures and everything else on it. So I think generally that's actually pretty cool that they're adding these things in. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the F5 at this BR, since it's going to have the active radar homing ones. Usually as the F5s get higher in BR, they kind of get a little bit worse because, you know, you can't use the dogfighting mechanics because you're a little bit of a slower platform compared to others. So we'll have to see how it goes. Another big upgrade to this thing is it technically should get the later Python series as well. So Python 4s and Python 5s. But at least right now, it doesn't seem to get access to those. Moving on from the F5, we get a familiar face in a different color. This is the Mosquitoes for Norway. So it looks like Norway is just getting a bunch of mosquitoes in its subtech tree for Sweden, which, I don't know, seems kind of weird. It's just odd that they've decided to do this all at the same time. Now, Norwegian pilots did use mosquitoes. You can actually see here that we're getting a different mosquito. Obviously, you know, one which has some kind of like recon element or radar element, which is cool. And then also this just looks like the standard Mark 6, the FB Mark 6 that we have in the game. And so does this one. So it might be the 57 millimeter anti-shipping one, but who knows? It might also be a different one. The thing about the Mosquito is even though this was primarily used by the British, you have to realize during the Second World War, Britain, especially between the middle to the end, well, basically from the middle of the Battle of Britain to the end of the Second World War, relied also on its allies for pilots, crews, and everything else. So this means Australians, Kiwis, all the Commonwealth, even Norwegians ended up flying a lot of sorties for or around the RAF with their equipment. And the Norwegian pilots actually flew a lot of missions with the Mosquitoes, attacking German shipping, which was around Norway. They suffered quite a lot of losses, unfortunately, but at the same time is part of the war and showed their kind of setup and kind of did their part to be able to liberate Norway from the fascist regime. So it's pretty cool to see them actually in the game. I'm sure people will be able to detect which ones these are, but it's just a lovely random piece when it comes to it. So I'm very happy that they've turned that up. Another vehicle that was in the leak list was the M55, the big donkey machine. We obviously got the M44 more recently, but basically this is a bigger version of it. So the M55 is based on the M47 chassis. It has like a superstructure built on top of it, which is the opposite way round of the standard turret. So this is actually, the turret is technically built on the front of the machine, but it's looking backwards. So this is the engine deck of the M47, and it has a bigger gun. It has a 203 millimeter gun, along with a 50 cal. Now, this is the German version. This is a vehicle that was spread out across the way for many different nations. So you had, of course, access to this. You had access to it for, I think, Italy as well, and probably America since they built it, and many others too. So this is another SPH that is just going to be spread across to pretty much everybody. And it'll be the new one to kind of go out. Now, I don't know how functioning the turret is of this, like how much traverse it has, but if you actually have a look, like very, very quickly, it turns off this chassis. So that'll give it a nice kind of setup. Another vehicle that was in the league list is the B-66, specifically the B variant. This is a Cold War bomber that is coming in for America. Very similar to the kind of, I suppose, the standard B-57 that was around. This one kind of continued its role and was also used in many different ones that we're probably not going to see in War Thunder. But the fact that the B-66 is here is really cool because, you know, a lot of people have been asking for more modern bombers, and Gaijin has been focusing a lot on strike aircraft recently because they can kind of multi-roll it up. Well, this one is just a bomber. It doesn't really have any other ways of attacking stuff. There's no guns on it or anything like that, apart from some defensive ones, depending on the variant, but it's mainly designed to go fast, dish out bombs, and get out of there. So America is once again getting a pretty cool kind of Cold War bomber. I know a lot of people focus on stuff like the B-36 or the B-52 or the Bear, you know, all of these massive machines. But to be honest, Russia and also America have a ton of really cool kind of medium bombers like this one, which I'd also want to see. And it's really cool that they've turned up. So really nice to see the B-66 and also friends. And then we get a quick snapshot at the new SPAAs, which are coming in for everybody. So number one, we have the SAMPT. This is for France and also for Italy. It's the joint project that they have been working on for many years that I believe is now in service. Now, this uses the Aster family of missiles. It technically has different missiles that it could use, depending on the variant of the missile, but the one that was in the leak list was the Aster 30, which has the largest range of any missile that we have in the game, 100 kilometers for this SAM system, with a speed of 1500 meters per second and also an overload of 50 Gs. So technically, this should be the best SAM in the game, and it should be incredibly powerful. We'll have to see if that actually happens or not. One of the more interesting things for me is kind of the receivers that are on this thing, and also the command vehicle not having like a radar really, unless it like goes upwards. So, you know, we'll have to see how that goes. Then we have another look at the book. So this is the book M3, another very modern system for the Russians. Obviously, everybody else gets their modern systems, so, you know, the book gets its modern system too. This one has a big old radar, but it also is using the 9M317 MAs. These have a range of up to 70 kilometers and also speed of 1550 meters per second and a 30 G overload. So they go pretty far, but they don't turn very well. So they should be able to be outmaneuvered. And then we have the last set. This is the Sky Sword weapon system, the SAM system for the British. And this one, very powerful radar, but not as powerful missiles. They'll only go up to about 45 kilometers an hour, about 1,000 meters per second, and then also 50 G overload. So very maneuverable, but a lot less range compared to a lot of the other kind of SAM systems that we have. So it's not really true that this one will be on par with the others, but it is better than the ADATs, which is your other option for Britain right now. So that brings a level of parity to high tier that we haven't seen in a long time, which I think is actually fantastic to see. Now we get our 2 or 3 seconds of ships. Not really going to cover these too much because we've already seen them. This is the Nelson. It's the one with the triple turrets on the front of it. The pre-order battleship that is coming in for the British, same as the Rodney or similar to the Rodney. Then you have the Maryland, which is the other pre-order ship that's coming in for the good old Americans. So yeah, 2 premium ships take up literally 2 seconds of the trailer. And then you have the Sky Sword firing, the Oplot moving around, which actually looks really sick. And then, of course, the Stingray, the M60A3 and the TTS, and also the Vulcan, which is the other parts of the TIE subtree, which I think is pretty cool. Then we have just a random cockpit, which I think is the F5. I'm not entirely sure. It might be something else because it goes around really quick. They're showing quite a lot of cockpits in this one, including one which is really cool to see, which is this one for like half a second because they keep hiding stuff. Now, I'm pretty sure this is the B-66 cockpit. So they're bringing in a medium Cold War bomber, and then also, at the same time, they're bringing in a cockpit for it. A lot of people have been looking forward to bomber cockpits, or at least they say they look forward to it, and then they don't use them. But, you know, they are looking forward to them. And it looks like Gaijin has put in a ton of effort to be able to actually add in this bomber cockpit for this one. So I hope it's appreciated. And also, maybe it'll make a new set of things where we will see more bomber cockpits in the game. Hopefully it will be a catalyst to everything kind of going crazy and having a bit of fun with. Or maybe not. Who knows? Anything's possible at the end of the day. But it's really cool to see this. And hopefully in the future we can see more. And then right at the end, you have the Canadian FA-18. It's Canada time. We've got the Ram 1 coming in and also a Canadian Hornet, which is really cool. The CF-188, we'll have to see which variant they decide to bring in for it. Technically, the Canadian FA-18 should have access to slightly different stuff compared to the American ones. And also, if you remember in the leak list, there's also going to be some Australian FA-18s that are going to turn up too. But one thing is for certain, you can see here, it's at least going to get AMRAAMs, which shouldn't be too surprising. The book firing and the end of it, and that is the trailer. This trailer is jam-packed full of vehicles. It's jam-packed full of pretty much everything. There's a lot of cool stuff in this one. The only issue that I generally have with it is, as I said, the lighting. I much prefer brightness. I much prefer the sun shining down. And in a lot of this, there's a lot of cloud, a lot of darkness. So it's a little bit muddly, especially with the issues when it comes to YouTube and how it kind of renders darkness. But overall, it's just fantastic to see all these vehicles here. And I'm so glad that this update is coming out. There just seems like a lot of really cool stuff in this one. And the B66 coming in is just a huge surprise. The Oplot is great. And also all of the other vehicles that they haven't shown yet. Remember, dev streams tomorrow probably. Dev server the next day. We'll be covering it all. We'll be having a great time. Come along for the ride. We will make videos on everything. Look after yourselves. Peace be with you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.